Hello, everybody. Welcome back. My name is Chris Williams, and I am a storyteller and an educator here in town. I was asked by our friends at Create More Fear Less to put together a storytelling series, and that is what I have been doing. We are at the end of this storytelling series, and I'm feeling a little bit sad about this. It's been really fun. It's been really enjoyable for me to share with you some tips and exercises. And yeah, I hope I get to do something like this again. And thank you for participating. Thank you for joining me for each of these episodes. I really appreciate it. So before we get into the final one, before we tell our story, we're going to we're going to begin this episode by taking a little step back, breathing, relaxing, and we're going to relax and we're going to think about if there's anything kind of nagging us right now, any anxieties that we're holding on to, anything that we're worried about. So take some time. And once you're ready, you just need something to write with. It can be anything. And then something to write on. As always, I use a pen and a paper. It's boring, but it's okay. We all have our thing. You can use rocks. You can use pieces of wood. You can use one word, a sentence. You can even draw a picture. It's totally up to you. I'm going to share my worries out loud. You do not have to share your worries out loud at all. But if you want to, if it will make you feel better, and if you really want to share with somebody, feel free to do that too. It's totally up to you. So one of my worries is that my story might not be that interesting, because I'm going to actually tell a story today. I'm going to read my story. It's a true story. But I'm a little worried. I'm not shy. I'm just a little worried maybe my story isn't that interesting. So I'm gonna write that down. Just write down bad story. And I'm also, let me see. I'm also a little worried that some of you might have some lingering questions that won't get answered. So I'm a little bit worried. Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about that. So I'll write that down. So I'm not going to hold on to any of these because I think the story is pretty good that I'm about to tell you, or at least it's not boring, I hope. So, and last, I think you all are smart enough that if you have questions, you can definitely find answers. So I'm not going to worry about that either. I'm not going to hold on to that. So put these into the trusty worry jar. And since this is the last episode, put the top on that. Just put that over there. Okay, so before I start in with the story, another thing we do is we take the mood temperature, the temperature of our mood. So take a couple seconds, think about what your mood is right now. I'm actually, if I'm being completely honest, I'm a little bit nervous. That doesn't happen to me very often, but I am. That's where I'm at. We'll see where I'm at the end of this. But yeah, right now, I'm feeling a little bit nervous, a little bit jittery. So that's where I'm at. Where are you at? Are you in a space to tell a story? Are you in a space to listen to the story I'm about to tell you? So the previous episode, I read these. It's that story spine, right, that we got from Pixar. And I told you that in the last episode we did for the storytelling series, that I would run through these and show you the breakdown through my actual story. So when you're telling your story, you're not going to do this the way I'm doing it. I'm literally going to just read this off and then start telling my story. And then when I get to this part 2, I'm going to read that, and then I'm going to continue with my story. And what I want you to do is listen along. Listen along and tell me if you hear the once upon a time, the and every day, the until one day. Like, you tell me if you think what I'm reading in my story fits in the section that I'm reading it under. Okay? Great. Are you ready? All right. So I'm sitting down. I'm usually standing up when I tell the story, but I can still find a power position, right? None of this. That's not a power position. This isn't a power position. Hands in pocket isn't a power position. So find my power position. Tell myself some positive affirmations. Right? I already did my tongue and lip exercises before I started this video, right? Take a breath and let's begin. So remember, I'm going to start with the section by reading it. Once upon a time, I went to one of the best elementary schools ever, from kindergarten through the 3rd grade. The school was called Bailey, and I knew almost all of the students. Now we're to the and everyday part. It was down the street from my house. I had all of my best friends there, and I really enjoyed my teachers. I had a ton of great memories from that time. The summer before I entered into the 4th grade, the building was badly damaged and Bailey had to close. Now we're to the until one day part. Instead of going to another public school with all of my friends, my parents decided to send me to a private school called St. Thomas Aquinas. My family didn't have a lot of money, so it was a big deal to be sent there. None of my other friends ended up going to St. Thomas, so when I started school my 4th grade year, I felt very much alone. The school was a K through 8, which meant I was surrounded by way more students than I ever had been before, and it was scary. And now we're to and because of this. Because of the size, it took me a while to make friends. Not only did I have to get used to wearing a school uniform, but I had to get used to an entirely different culture and way of doing things at this school. We had to go to church in the morning every single day, and the environment felt stricter and less creative. But most importantly, there was nobody else in my entire class that looked like me. I was the only black boy in the entire grade, and it felt very isolating. I had been very outgoing and happy at Bailey, but my first year at St. Thomas was very lonely for the first half of it. I would do my work, eat my lunch, do more work, and then wait for my mom or dad to pick me up at the end of the day. I wasn't having fun, and I could feel myself changing. I worried about things I had never worried about before, and I worried about how I looked. I worried about my grades, if I was smart enough to even be here, and I worried about what people thought of me. I was the new kid, and some of the other students were not that welcoming. I wasn't physically bullied because I was bigger than most of the kids in my class, but a lot of unkind words were thrown in my direction. And now we're to the second and because of this. I felt like I couldn't talk to my parents about how I was feeling because they were spending so much money for me to be there, so I talked to my older brother. And he suggested that I find some friends as quickly as possible. I thought that he was right, and I soon made 2 new friends, Vinny and Jahan. We started to eat lunch together and joke around during recess together. I found out that we had a lot of things in common, and I started to feel more like myself again. And now we're to until finally. Because of them, I was able to warm up to other people in my class, and before I knew it, I had made a good group of friends again. I also found that a lot of my anxiety went away and my mood improved. The school itself still wasn't so great, but I had made friends to help me through it. I ended up leaving St. Thomas and going back to public school in the 8th grade. By then, I had a lot of friends at St. Thomas. I wanted to go back to public school, but I was sad to leave some of my friends that I had made there. I was also nervous about starting over again at public school, even though I still knew people who I had gone to Bailey with. And now we're to the end, and ever since that day, since I had already been through the experience of starting over at a new school, I knew that making friends would be my way of navigating the nerves and the anxieties that would come up. I knew that I was way more resilient than I realized, and I knew that I was going to be just fine. So, think about that. Think about how I broke it down. It was a little weird because I'm saying these sections, which obviously I wouldn't do at all if I was telling an actual story. But just think about it. Think about that, and then start working on your own story. Start thinking about how you're going to tell it, right? Start thinking about what parts of yours belong in what sections that we have here again. And then write it down, record it on your phone if you want to, do whatever you want, but just tell your story. Your story is important because you're important, right? Don't ever forget that. Your voice is important, and we all have interesting and important, valid things to say. That's what this has all been about. Your story is important, and you should tell it. Well, before we go, let's take one last mood temperature. Yeah, I'm a little sad. I'm a little sad it's all over, if I'm being honest. I'm a little sad it's all over. But, again, I hope all of you got something from this series, and if there's a way for you to share your stories with us, I'd love to hear them. I'd love to hear what you came up with. All right? Again, my name is Chris Williams. I am a storyteller and an educator. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you joining us. Take care. Have a good day. Bye.